Chapter 13, Act 1, Girl Makes Boy Want Her. Want to come with me to an artist reception at the Chester Springs studio next Monday night? Arya's mother Ella asked. It was Thursday morning, and Ella was sitting across from Arya at the breakfast table, doing the New York Times crossword puzzle with a leaky black pen and eating a bowl of Cheerios. She had just returned to her part-time job at the Davis Contemporary Art Gallery on Rosewood's main drag, and she was on the mailing list for all the benefits. Isn't Dad going to go with you? Arya asked. Her mom pursed her lips together. He has a lot of work to do for his classes. Oh. Arya picked at a loose strand of wool on the fingerless gloves she'd knitted during a long train ride to Greece. Was that suspicion she detected in her mom's voice? Arya always worried Ella would find out about Meredith and never forgive her for keeping the secret. Arya squeezed her eyes closed. You're not thinking about it, she thought. She poured some grapefruit juice into a glass. Ella, she asked, I need some love advice. Love advice? Her mother teased, securing her jet black bun with a takeout chopstick that had been lying on the table. Yeah, Arya said. I like this guy, but he's kind of unattainable. I'm out of ideas on how to convince him he should like me. Be yourself, Ella said. Arya groaned. I've tried that. Go out with an attainable boy, then. Arya rolled her eyes. Are you going to help or not? Ooh, someone sensitive. Ella smiled and snapped her fingers. I just read this study in the paper. She held up the Times. It was a survey about what men find most attractive in women. You know what the number one thing was? Intelligence. Here, let me find it for you. She ruffled through the paper and handed the page to Arya. Arya likes guys? Mike swept into the kitchen and grabbed a glazed donut from the box on the island. No, Arya quickly responded. Someone likes you, Mike said. Gross as that is, he made a barfing sound. Who? Ella asked in an excited voice. Noel Kahn, Mike answered, talking with a huge chewed-up bite of donut in his mouth. He asked about you at the lacrosse practice. Noel Kahn? Ella echoed, looking back from Mike to Arya. Which one is he? Was he here 3 years ago? Do I know him? Arya groaned and rolled her eyes. He's nobody. Nobody, Mike sounded disgusted. He's like the coolest guy in your grade. Whatever, Arya said, kissing her mother on the top of her head. She headed to the hallway, staring at the newspaper clipping in her hands. So men liked brains. Well, Icelandic Arya could certainly be brainy. Why don't you like Noel Kahn? Mike's voice made Arya jump. He stood a few feet away from Arya with a carton of orange juice in his hand. He's the man. Arya groaned. If you like him so much, why don't you go out with him? Mike drank straight from the carton, wiped his mouth, and stared at her. You've been acting freaky. Are you high? Can I have some if you are? Arya snorted. In Iceland, Mike had been constantly trying to score drugs and freaked when some guys in the harbor told him a dime bag for pot. The stuff turned out to be skunky, but Mike proudly smoked it anyway. Mike started stroking his chin. I think I know why you're acting freaky. Arya turned back to the closet. You're full of crap. You think so, Mike answered. I don't. And you know what? I'm going to find out if my suspicions are true. Good luck, Sherlock. Arya pulled at her jacket. Even though she knew Mike was probably full of shit, she hoped he hadn't noticed the quiver in her voice. As the other kids filed into English, most of the boys sporting a few days' growth of stubble, and most of the girls in copycat Mona and Hannah platform sandals and charm bracelets, Arya reviewed her just-scrawled stack of note cards. Today, they had to give an oral report about a play called Waiting for Godot. Arya adored oral reports. She had the perfect, sexy, gravelly voice for them, and she happened to know the play really well. Once she'd spent a whole Sunday in the bar, vehemently arguing with an Adrian Brody look-alike about its theme. Between swilling delicious apple vodka martinis and playing footsie with him under the table, that is. So not only was this an excellent day to become an Uber student, it was also a great opportunity to show everyone how cool Icelandic Arya was. Ezra strolled in, looking rumpled, bookish, and completely edible, and clapped his hands. Okay, class, he said. We have a lot of stuff to get through today. Quiet down. Hannah Marin turned around and smirked at Arya. What kind of underwear do you think he's wearing? Arya smiled blandly. Striped cotton boxers, of course, but snapped her attention back to Ezra. All right, Ezra walked to the chalkboard. Everyone did the reading, right? Everyone has a report. Who wants to go first? Arya's hand shot up. Ezra nodded at her. She walked to the podium at the front of the room, rearranged her black hair around her shoulders so that it looked extra gorgeous, and made sure that her chunky coral necklace wasn't caught in the collar of her shirt. Quickly, she reread the few first sentences on her index cards. Last year, I attended a performance of Waiting for Godot in Paris, she began. She noticed Ezra raise his eyebrows just the teeniest bit. It was a smaller theater off the Seine, and the air smelled like cheese baking next door. She paused. Picture the scene. A huge line of people waiting to go in. A woman toting her 2 little white poodles, the Eiffel Tower in the distance. She briefly looked up. Everyone seemed so transfixed. I could feel the energy, the excitement, the passion in the air. And it wasn't just the beer they were selling to everyone. Even my little brother, she added. Nice, Noel Kahn interjected. Arya smiled. The seats were very velvety and purple and smelled like this type of butter in France that's sweeter than American butter. It's what makes the pastries so delicious. Arya, Ezra said. It's the kind of butter that even makes escrow taste good. Arya stopped. Ezra leaned against the chalkboard with his arms crossed over his rosewood blazer. Yes, she smiled. I have to stop you. But I'm not even halfway done. Well, I need less about velvet seats and pastries and more about the play itself. The class snickered. Arya shuffled back to her seat and sat down. Didn't he know she was creating ambiance? Noel Kahn raised his hand. Noel? Ezra asked. You want to go next? No, Noel said. The class laughed. I just wanted to say I thought Arya's report was good. I liked it. Thanks, Arya said quietly. Noel swiveled around. Is there really no drinking age? Not really. I might go with my family to Italy this winter. Italy's amazing. You're going to love it. Are you two through? Ezra asked. He shot Noel an exasperated look. Arya dug her hot pink nails into the wood grain of her desk. Noel turned back to her again. Did you have absinthe? He whispered. She nodded. Amazed, Noel had even heard of absinthe. Mr. Kahn, Ezra interrupted sternly, a little too sternly. That's enough. Was this jealousy she detected? Damn, Hannah twisted around. What crawled up his ass? Arya stifled a giggle. It seemed to her like a certain Uber student was making a certain teacher a little twitchy. Ezra called on Devon Arliss next, and she started her speech. As Ezra turned to the side and put his finger on his chin, listening, Arya throbbed. She wanted him so badly it made her whole body buzz. No, wait. That was just her cell phone, which was nestled in her oversized lime green tote next to her foot. The thing kept buzzing. Arya slowly reached down and pulled it out. One new text message. Arya. Maybe he fools around with students all the time. A lot of teachers do. Just ask your dad. A. Arya quickly snapped her phone shut. But then she opened it and reread the message. And again. As she did, the tiny hairs on her arms stood up. No one in the room had their phones out. Not Hannah, not Noel, nobody. And no one was looking at her either. She even looked up at the ceiling and out the classroom door, but nothing seemed out of place. Everything was quiet and still. This can't be happening, Arya whispered. The only person who knew about Arya's dad was Allison, and she'd sworn on her grave she wouldn't tell a soul. Was she back?